These UFOs are out here, man, and I want to find them.
Perhaps no one spends as much time on skyward mysteries as Jeff Woolwine.
But when these lights come on, it's like somebody with a switch on a wall. Boop. Here we are.
Woolwine's tours are free too, and you're free to believe or not.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this. I think he's as honest as the day is long.
He describes his guests as top-notch, credible, and says Woolwine is one of the good guys.
Whether you believe in UFOs or not, there is something here. And they were here a long time ago. And their sightings is recorded on the mountain.
Hello, welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How's everybody doing tonight? Glad that you guys are back with us. We had some technical difficulties yesterday, but I think we got all the gremlins put in their cages for today's show. Let's hope so. Okay, so we have a great show for you guys tonight. So we're going to talk about the light and shadow equinox and solstice panels out there on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is part three of the series on the light and shadow panels. I think what I'll start doing is I'll start talking about more of these petroglyphs on South Mountain and more about the Phoenix Lights history. In this show, there's a lot to cover. And sometimes I go over, way over the time limit. So there's so much to cover. So I'll be talking a lot about the petroglyphs on South Mountain in Phoenix and explaining on exactly what the Phoenix Lights is. Now, there's still people out there saying, oh, it's still unexplained Phoenix Lights. That's just nonsense, because if they've done their homework, if they've looked into the history of Phoenix, they will realize that the Phoenix Lights is a part of Phoenix, Arizona's history. It always has. And the evidence and the proof and the credible evidence, the data, if you want to throw that word in there, is on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. Is on South Mountain. It's carved on the mountains around Phoenix, Arizona. The mountains around this valley are like scrolls. They're prehistoric photographs of history that had taken place in this valley, now known as Phoenix, Arizona. How's everybody doing today? Glad you guys are with us. My name is Jeff Woolwine. I'm the leading authority here on the Phoenix Lights in Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised here in Phoenix. I've been seeing these UFOs ever since I was a kid. This is why it made me go on a quest, on a hunt, on an adventure to find out exactly what was going on in our Phoenix skies. Not just one single UFO sighting and then a bunch of hearsay. No, I have hardcore evidence facts. A lot of these sky watchers out there, they're only out for the money. They're only out for the fame. They're only out to get themselves on the news and to sell books about nothing. Here I have credible evidence, and it's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's not about who's getting on TV and who's not. It's about credible evidence that I'm bringing to you. And so glad you guys are here with me to understand what I've discovered over the last 20 years or so doing my investigations on the Phoenix Lights. No one else has ever done this before here in Phoenix. Okay, so let's get the show on the road. All right, so what's coming up first? Okay, so I do a ghost hunt. I'm also a paranormal investigator, me and my wife. And we go to locations and we hunt for ghosts and things like that. So if you're into the paranormal and ghost huntings and things like that, check out my YouTube channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Check out my videos. Share the videos. I'm sure that you'll like them. There's a lot of neat stuff that my wife and I has ventured out and investigated. The last one we did was the Blue Mist Motel. Now that one's a little bit graphic, so if you don't have, if you're like kind of have a weak heart or squeamish to graphic photographs, skip over that part and just move on to the next part, because that's a great show. It's a great show. The next one that we're out doing is called Haunted Cabin in the Woods, or in the Forest. I think that's what I named it, the Forest. So yeah, that's the next episode that I'm working on. That one's pretty cool. You're gonna like this one. Not as graphic as the motel room. So, Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check me out on Facebook. Subscribe there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's see if things want to work out today or not. Okay, so also subscribe to my UFO channel, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Okay, make sure that it says the Phoenix Lights on it, Petroglyphs in the Sky, because just the word Petroglyphs in the Sky, that is not me. That is someone pretending to be me. Okay, do not worry about that guy. Don't subscribe to that guy. He is a false dude. He's just someone trying to impersonate me. Matter of fact, there's many films out there on like Amazon and things like that. They're fake DVDs. Don't buy those DVDs. They are ripoffs. All right. There's a lot of people stealing my work and trying to make it their own selves, trying to, say that they come up with all this information and they did all these sightings, and that's not true. I am the source. I am the lead investigator here in Phoenix, Arizona. And there's a lot of people out there, trying to be me. And so, yeah, don't buy into that. Make sure you see the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is the true YouTube channel for me. You'll see me. You'll see myself in a cool tombstone cowboy hat. So make sure you see that, and not the guy looking off onto the mountains there. That is not me. All right, so let's move on. The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. Now, this is my book. It has tons of colors in it. The archaeologist, it's funny too, because the archaeologist, I've dealt with this guy many, many years. I've been on the news with this guy. It's probably the only one in history to bring out an archaeologist, to talk about a city archaeologist, to talk about UFOs and the petroglyphs on the mountains in his area. And I've never seen that before, but I did it. I got this archaeologist out on the news and trying to explain these petroglyphs. And I'm sorry, this guy's totally wrong. The evidence is there. I brought all this evidence down from the mountain, and I show the photographs of the tombs. I show the evidence of the sacrificing altars. I found the evidence of, the giants out there on South Mountain. I brought all this information down from the mountain. And yet this archaeologist, excuse me, this archaeologist, is still denying all this stuff, but the proof is there, So, yeah. And, in his book, and my point was, in his book, he draws these petroglyphs. He doesn't show photographs, or if he does, there's like maybe 3 or 4 pages of colored photographs of petroglyphs, but they're so damn small you can't even see it. You can't see it. So what he does, he draws in what he wants you to see. For instance, there's a panel out there. I'm sure you've seen it in my last videos. There's a panel out there with a stick figure guy. and he's got an elongated head, much like what we see in the skeletons in Peru and things like that. He's got this elongated head, all right? A carving of a man in Phoenix, Arizona with an elongated head, right? And he's looking up at a UFO barbell, right? So what does the archaeologist do? He draws in what he wants you to see by putting just a regular head on that. Doesn't draw a elongated head. He draws a regular head. Stuff like that. Things like that, you know, especially in his book, you know, he says that petroglyphs are in this one area and they're not. They're a mile away. I mean, this guy is totally misleading. All right, him and his team went up there 5 years. They only spent 5 years up there, in which I spent 15 years up there, okay? I doubled, tripled his investigation. And yet this archaeologist wants us to believe that there wasn't sacrificing going on up there, that the Mayans wasn't up there, that there's no gold tombs up there, that the petroglyphs are not talking about the Phoenix Lights, the petroglyphs are not talking about UFOs, and that's just crazy. That's nonsense. This is the stuff that I've been running into. This is, you know, the problems that you run into when you're out there seeking the truth. Because for so many years, this stuff has been covered up, has not been told to the public. They don't even say anything about the first park ranger. Oh, you're not even in his book. The archaeologist does not talk about Charles Holbrook, the first park ranger, who many trails are named after him, who there's a lookout tower on South Mountain, a lookout point named Charles Holbrook Lookout, but yet the archaeologist doesn't talk about this? Why? I'll tell you why. Because Charles Holbrook knew about the gold tombs on South Mountain, right? He was there to protect the gold tombs. Duh. Right? How did he learn all this? Not only did he find them, but the Native Americans at that time told Charles, look, there's gold up there, man. There's gold tombs up there, man. Here's what happened to the Hohokam Indians. They told Charles everything. You know, when you find my my YouTube channel, The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, you can find a link to my website. And on my website, it's got all that information on Charles Holbrook. And his writings, he calls his writings the lost city of Cibola, the lost city of gold, because he was really convinced that this was part of the lost cities of gold that the Spanish conquistadors was looking for. The archaeologist doesn't even want to admit that the Spanish even came near Phoenix, Arizona. But yet there's a petroglyph panel out there that Charles Holbrook put bars on, saying that the Spanish was here long ago. And when you find my book, when you pick up my book, you see the evidence, you see the physical evidence, you see the things that I've uncovered on South Mountain when it comes to the Spanish conquistadors. You can see the artifacts that I dug up, that I found out there. You can learn about the battle between the Indians on South Mountain and the Spanish at that time. You can read all that story in my book. You can see the photographs. You can see the actual horseshoes that I found out there where the battle took place. You can see that in my book also. You can see the evidence. You can see the horseshoes. There's so much evidence in my book. And I don't draw stuff in. I show photographs. That's me in the back of the cover there. But, you know, I don't draw nothing in. I show photographs. See that? These are big color photographs. Not of hearsay, not of what I want you to believe. No, that's not what it is at all. Because this story here has always been here and hasn't been told in the last 80 years. And you're only going to hear this from me. No one else has ever dug up this information before. This information has been locked away, tucked away in the Phoenix, Arizona library in a folder for the last 80 years, all right? No wonder nobody knows what the Phoenix Lights is, right? No wonder they don't understand what these beams in the sky are, right? It's because of nonsense like this, because of the evidence has been covered up, has been buried, has been pushed aside in folders, away from the public eye, and jerk out archaeologists who are keeping this information hidden from you. Way before I was a sky watcher, way before I was a UFO investigator, I was an archaeologist. I've been studying archaeology for years. This is one of the reasons why I got into this. You know, not only, you know, did I find the history of Phoenix, I found all this evidence, you know, and then I was seeing the UFOs in the sky. So I can spot something man-made, you know, a mile away. I know it's real. I know it's fake. We're going to kind of go into that here in a little bit. And for me to go out there and take photographic evidence, photographs, bring it down, show it to the archaeologists, and have them say, nope, that's not there. You know what I mean? That's just proof right there that there's a cover up there. Especially when he goes on the news. When all this evidence I have presented before him, and he says, nope, it's not there. Oh my God, right? Right? Come on, man. So, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Landscape for the Spirits, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. 15 years of research, folks. And this is not just a regular UFO book, all right? It's a story through time, okay? It takes the reader on a magical journey. It explains on what happened to the Hohokam people, who the Hohokam people actually were, from the writings of Charles Holbrook, who learned this from the Native Americans themselves, understanding the petroglyphs, understanding the rock art. How was I taught by the rock art? I learned from a Native American shaman who works at a museum in downtown Phoenix, Pueblo Indian Art Museum. And so I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before. I'm just retelling the story. I'm bringing this information back to the public. And it's not about, like I said, fame and fortune and glory, Dr. Jones. No, it's not that at all. It's bringing the proof here on what the Phoenix Lights is. It's bringing the proof in on what Phoenix, Arizona history really comes from. And you're not told about this history. You're only going to hear it here, folks. Someone who's actually done their homework. Someone who's actually done their research. Someone who's actually been on the mountains for years. And I have bad knees now to prove it. That mountain beat me up, man. I tell you what. But I was there. And I watched the skies over the mountain, and I saw these lights, and I saw these beams, and they're coming and going out there. I've been saying it since 2005 when I first discovered this. It's not mechanical devices here, not spaceships, not flying saucers, creatures, living entities. See 5 lights out there? You're looking at 5 living beings, 5 living creatures. Not some mechanical spaceship, not some little guy inside of it. Don't get me wrong. So flying saucers and crafts could be out there, right? Scientists have found 5 Earth-like planets, maybe 6 now, on the outskirts of our solar system. Now, what's to say? I mean, there's one planet out there that's bigger. I think they said, 3 or 4 times bigger than Earth? And it's a Class M planet, oxygen and nitrogen. So yeah, there's life there. Sure, of course there's life. And what's the idea? What's the possibilities of them making a spaceship, visiting Earth at some time and point? Sure, why not? I'm open. I'd love to see it. I'm seeing the evidence right now of it, though. I see a lot of hearsay, a lot of misinformation, a lot of stuff, a lot of misleading information, and preying on people's ignorance. For them to buy their books and make them famous and make them on TV and with bullshit that they can't even prove. Of hearsay, they go off hearsay. You can't rely on that. Hearsay needs to take a holiday. Facts and evidence needs to step forward, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to present the evidence that's on South Mountain, the evidence of the Phoenix Lights and what they're all about, what they really are. This is from the Native Americans. This is from the ancient texts that we read. It's from the petroglyphs, man. It's from what the Native Americans say, dude. And who else would know better than the Native Americans, dude? Because they saw them first, right? They were on this land way before us. So they should know what they're talking about, don't you think? I think so. And they do. And it's not just myths and legends and things, man. It's facts. These petroglyphs out there is prehistoric photographs of our history, of the world's history, of mankind's history. It's not some graffiti. It's not some Indian out there on peyote. No, man. Mountains with spirals on them are the keys to understand these creatures that we see in the skies today. Orbs, lights, Quetzalcoatl, flying serpents, flying diamonds, petroglyphs in the sky. That's what this book is all about. And I don't make any money from this. I told the publishers to give the money to the foster kids in Phoenix. So I'm not seeing a dime off these books at all. Matter of fact, I have to buy my own books, dude. Okay? So, yeah. Not fortune and glory, Dr. Jones. It's information and facts being presented to you. Okay. Check these guys out here. I always have trouble saying this. For Real Watchers radio show live. Coming at you from Jerry and Brett. Check these guys out on YouTube. Check out their Facebook page. They're awesome guys. They do interviews. They have their own radio show. They're a great bunch of people. Contact them for any paranormal or UFO or anything that you want to talk to them about. They're great listeners, great hosts. Contact these guys. For Real Watchers radio show. I have to say that really slow, because if I say it fast, For Real, what? I can't even say it, dude, so I have to do it slow. For Real Watchers radio show. There you go. Contact these guys. They're great people. Tell them Jeff Woolwine sent you. Alrighty then. Alrighty, guys. Yeah. What else do we have in store? Oh, not you. We just talked about you, brother. We just talked about you, too. Okay, here we go again. Once again, Vulture City Mines. Paracon 2. Out there in Wickenburg, Arizona. Get your tickets fast, because these tickets are going to go fast. Vulture City Mines. Vulture City Paracon Part 2. I was out there on the first one. It was great. Talked about UFOs. Did some ghost hunting out there. And so this year, October 8th, 9th, and 10th of this year, 2021, first ever Skywatch. I'll be out there conducting a Skywatch, man. We're going to go out there and look for UFOs, man. And, you know, from my past shows, I always talk about the fault lines. You know, these UFOs, these creatures are here and are attracting from the energy from the fault lines. And so I did my homework on the fault lines here in Arizona. And lo and behold, there's one that goes right through Vulture City Mines, goes right next to it. And so, yeah, you know, there's been reported of the Phoenix Lights out there before, seen strange orbs, seen strange things in the skies out there. And not only the UFOs are there, but, you know, it's haunted. This place is haunted. You know, any of you that are into ghosts and paranormal and investigating and things like that, check out this Vulture City Paracon. It's going to be great. We have a lot of great speakers there, and there's more to come. I see on Facebook all the time more speakers are being added. So come out there. Let's meet. Let's do a meet and greet. You know, bring your books. I will autograph them for you. And let's talk about UFOs. Let's talk about ghosts. Let's spend the night together at Vulture City Mines in Wickenburg, Arizona. And, yeah, it's going to be a great, great time. Come on out, guys, and let's talk about ghosts. Let's talk about UFOs, and let's have a great time. So, also later on in the show, there's a UFO video that's one of my favorites, and it was filmed in Canada, and I believe it was like 2008, so it's kind of old. But still, I mean, it's great stuff. Doesn't matter how old it is. I mean, it's still great stuff. and it's some boaters in a raft, in a boat, and this thing goes over the water and right over them, and these guys are freaking out. They don't know what it is, and it's great stuff, and we can actually tell that it's not a spaceship, it's not a craft of any kind, that it's actually some kind of monster, it's kind of some kind of creature. So yeah, we're gonna get to that at the end of the show. So yeah, wait for that. Okay, so how many times do I gotta stress? Do not touch the petroglyphs. Okay? These things are history, all right? And when you touch the petroglyphs, like this guy, this fool is doing, let's look at the stick figure guy there. You see how yellow it's getting? You see how yellow that is? That's from people putting their hands on it. It's ruining the petroglyph because of fools like this touching them. You see that? Whenever you guys see me on the news, whenever you guys see me on the cable shows, am I physically touching the petroglyphs? Am I touching the petroglyphs? No. I'm either touching the outskirts of the glyphs, or when I did the show on the History Channel, on the UFO Hunter show, I use a stick. I use a stick to point out what I'm talking about. Never touch the petroglyphs. Don't break them off. Take them home. Use them for your doorstop. This is photographs of history. Okay, people. Don't ruin them. Don't spray paint them, because you're erasing history here. And it's bad enough that, the conspiracy cover-up is going on, without, these vandals helping it along, by spray painting them, by chiseling out the story and breaking them and putting their hands all over them and making them and ruining them. You're as bad as the conspiracy people. When you go off and do that, you're covering up the history of the world here. You're covering up the story. Because the petroglyphs carved on the areas where you find them at is the areas on where the event took place at. This is the reason why we find petroglyphs on one area of the mountain, but there's no petroglyphs on the other area of the mountain. Because nothing happened over there. It happened over here. So we want to look at the spots on the area where the petroglyphs took place at. He's telling the story. It's a photograph. They didn't have cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their stories on. Stories significant to pass on from generation to generation. And it's really for our generation to understand, because we are seeing these things in the skies now in our generation, right? So we need to understand our future. We need to understand our past. And our past has a lot to do with these prehistoric photographs, because that's all they had. That's all they had, to record something, where these huge mountains on where the events were taking place at, to let you know this is where the sea of beings at, is all these mountains with spirals on them. I mean, they just didn't have, they didn't have writing or anything. So they carved a photograph of their sighting right there on where the place took place at. So when people come around and stick their hands on them, or they break them up and things like that, you're erasing history. And you're as bad as, the people who's trying to do it in the first place, trying to cover it up. Look at this guy. Touching spirals. Don't be doing that. Right? That is a definitely no-no. And you know what this guy's touching, right? Those of you who've been watching my past shows knows that these spirals are vortexes. These spirals are doorways. It's like looking down into a tunnel. It's a symbol for a vortex. And this guy's touching it, right? If he only knew what he was standing next to. It reminds me of a story. There's a house out there on South Mountain, right? And it's built kind of on the base of the mountain there, but it's built on this boulder, on this huge boulder. And around that boulder is petroglyphs, man. There's spirals, there's flying snakes, there's orbs, there's phoenix lights carved all over that boulder where this house is sitting on top of. And, I always wondered, one of these days, there's going to be a flying serpent or an orb or something come up out of that person's living room, or come down through the house and land, into his house there, and this guy's going to freak out because he has no idea what he's sitting on. He has no idea what he's living on. He's living on a vortex door for these creatures, for the Phoenix Lights, for these, Quetzalcoatl, things like that, right? So I'm sure he's going to be out there drinking coffee, looking out his window, enjoying the landscape of the mountain, and lo and behold, he's going to look up, and here comes this flying snake, right? And it's going to come right under his house, and he's going to spill his coffee and say, "What the hell was that, man?" Yeah, I just hope one day I get to see that, because it's going to happen. It will happen. It's going to happen. All right, so be aware. Be aware of fake, carvings and things like that. Look at this, man. There's so many people out there that are going on, there are manipulating things and want you to believe stuff that they want you to believe, just for them to buy your books and get famous, and they're preying off people's ignorance because they're not doing their own homework, and when you see stuff like this is complete fake. This is not real at all. You can actually tell it's been computer generated. So don't buy into this nonsense, okay? This stuff is not real history. This is someone trying to fool you into thinking that either they discovered something big or they want you to buy a book or a movie or something. So do not buy into garbage like that. I had another one here, but I guess it's gone. We'll talk about that later. Okay, let's get into the petroglyphs. Now, this rock art is on the east side of South Mountain. It's on the very tip of the east side of South Mountain. Now, let's examine this closely here. So everyone who knows on my past shows, see the rock on top? The rock on top of this boulder, that's where the sun will cast its shadow at. Okay? And you can see already that it's starting to cast its shadow there. This is located on the east side of South Mountain. And here's another same photograph of it. Okay, now let's take a closer look at this. All right, so over here on the left, we can see on how the Indians carved out this snake. On the left, they carved out the snake. You see that? They made that a snake. Okay? The archaeologist doesn't talk about this. Hello? You're only going to see this here, right here on this show and in my book. Okay, so on the left, the boulder is shaped to look like a serpent. A snake is coming out of the mountain. Quetzalcoatl, and he's eating the boulder. Okay? Now over here on the right, we have the light and shadow that's taking place during the equinox. It's a morning sunrise. Okay? See, it's almost the afternoon now. It's probably around 12:30. And the boulder is making the formation of a snake. You see this? You see the similarities there? That is a serpent. And it's the exact same serpent that we find over here on the left. Archaeologist does not talk about this. Here's another photograph. This is what I'm talking about. See that? You can really see now, since I pointed it out, to what to look for. You see that snake? He's got a mouth. Look at the serpent there. He's eating a boulder. He's eating a boulder. And it's very hard to see. Now, sometimes these petroglyphs that are carved out there on the mountain, sometimes the sun will bleach out these petroglyphs. And you won't be able to notice them until it's like a cloudy day or the sun's in a different position in the sky. Then the petroglyphs kind of stick out. But there is a man that's carved on that boulder that this serpent is eating. That's my point here. But yeah, the archaeologist does not talk about this, but this is clearly a snake that has been cut, that has been chiseled out. Actually, they placed all these boulders here. These boulders are not natural. These boulders has been placed here. Okay? That takes someone very big, very powerful, don't you think? Possibly a giant. There's evidence of giants out here on South Mountain. This could be one of them here. These boulders are not, natural. They have been stacked here to create this effect and has been carved out to look like a snake coming out of the mountain. Isn't that incredible? And you can totally tell that it's been shaved out. It's been cut out. Look at that. And there's a boulder. He's got his lip there on the boulder. He's getting ready to eat this boulder. I just think that's fascinating. You won't see any of this from anywhere else but here, ladies and gentlemen. I bring the truth to you in photographs. And then you can see another angle of what the snake looks like over here. That rock that's been placed up on top, that's casting the shadow. That's making the shadow snake. See his face there? Looks exactly like the mouth here. That's carved out. The mouth is the exact same thing. Look at that. Isn't that fascinating? There's petroglyphs there. You can see the petroglyphs. Isn't that incredible? That is just fascinating to me. You won't see this anywhere else. But once you understand it, it sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? I mean, it's just fascinating on how, they were able to pick up these boulders, chisel them in such a way for the sun to hit it just right to make this serpent mouth. But that's not all. That's not all that happens here. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning that's the start of this light and shadow. But I just love that on how they used the rocks. They used the boulders to make a snake head, to make a serpent head. And that's what it's all about. It's the flying serpent. The Mayans are talking about the feathered serpent. And it doesn't really have feathers on him. It's just a way of understanding that something flies. Okay? So, they say feathered serpent. It just means that he flies. That's all. So he doesn't really have feathers on him. He just has the capability of flying. And I can tell you that I've seen Quetzalcoatl many times in the skies of Phoenix, and he's alive and doing quite well, actually. I filmed him. I've seen him. Look at my videos. You can see that I've seen this flying snake here. I understand what these petroglyphs are talking about here. And it's the serpent, man. Okay. Let's move on. Here's another look at it. This is from a far distant area. And you can see on how they try to keep people away from it. They put that little wooden fence up. But you can see all the area. What's this talking about here? Oh yeah, so there's a tomb under here. This is in my book. The boulders has been placed covering a possible tomb entrance to the chamber inside this pyramid hill. Yes, it is a pyramid hill. See that? It's a pyramid, and there is a tomb within this pyramid. It's only obvious too because it's oriented towards the east. It's the east side of the mountain. It's the very beginning of the mountain. It's the east side. So of course we're going to find things like this, okay, at the beginning of a sacred mountain on the east side. We have a pyramid hill, and we have all these boulders in front of it with a carved out snake coming out of it, and petroglyphs carved on top of it, and it's also a light and shadow panel, an equinox panel. Now, the archaeologists, for all these years, they're just saying that, the changing of the seasons, these light and shadow panels are just, it's time to plant corn, okay? That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with all these light and shadow panels around the world, especially like Stonehenge, stuff like that. The sun is aligning up, over those two blocks of stone there, right? That's nothing to do with planting corn. It has everything to do with when these beings will be seen in the sky and when they're not going to be in the sky. Because over the years, that first year I was out there watching South Mountain, 2005, I noticed that these creatures were here on certain months and then gone on certain months. They returned on certain months. The second year, it repeated itself. The third year, it repeated itself. This was the clue. This was the secret. This was the pattern on when to see these phoenix lights, when to see these creatures on the mountain, when they will be there. And it just so happens to be before the equinox, after the equinox, and before the solstice and after the solstice. It has everything to do with the aligning of the sun in the sky with these fault lines or natural energy spots on the ground, such as ley lines and fault lines. It's energy. When the sun aligns with these energy spots, it attracts these beings to these certain places around the world. When the sun changes, when the sun moves during the seasons, so do these beings. The beings are gone. They go somewhere else. They're following the sun. The Hohokam people, they were sky watchers. They didn't worship the sun, but they felt the sun was a tyrant god. Okay? And they tracked the sun to understand when these beings will be returning, when these beings will be back. This is why we have, the snake dance. The Hopis do the snake dance. Things like this, during the seasons. Okay, we have special dances and costume designs and kachinas and things like that, for these, ceremonies on changing of the seasons. It's because of these beings in the sky. It's when they're going to see them. It's when it's time to see them. Now, some of these rock art, some of these petroglyphs, they tell you what to look for. Watching South Mountain, I learned that, there's many different doors. Okay, so the doors are the underworld. That's what the Native Americans say, that these spirals are doorways to the underworld. On a scientific point, on a scientific way of looking at it, these are doors into the fault lines. They're going down into the energy sources. They're going down into that fault line. And so I noticed that there's many spirals, but many different petroglyphs, meanings. Like for instance, like over here we have a spiral and we have a picture of a carving of a flying snake. About 2 miles down the road, 2 miles down from the mountain, we have another spiral, but this time it's a guy looking up at a light or an orb, a phoenix light, or an orb in the sky. About a mile down the road from the mountain, you find more petroglyphs, and now we're finding flying diamonds. And then about another mile down the road, you find guys looking up at crooked snakes in the sky. So I started to understand that they're all doorways, but for different entities, for different creatures. So over here we have the flying serpent. Over here we have the flying diamonds. Over here we have the flying orbs. Over here we have the flying crooked snakes. So we have all these symbols of what was seen in the sky and on all these doorways. So we had many doorways for many different types of creatures. I believe so the diamonds are its own being. The flying serpents are its only being. The phoenix lights are its own being. And that's what the story was telling me here. That's what the evidence was suggesting here. That's what I was noticing. Because there's a huge crack down the side of the mountain, okay? A huge canyon, right? And there's spirals going down that whole canyon. I think I'll talk about that in my next show. I'll show you what I'm talking about in my next show. There's a big canyon down the side of South Mountain. There's spirals all down through the mountain. Now, up on top, there are guys looking up at a flying snake. There's a carving there of a guy looking up at a flying serpent, all right? And one thing that I found out, and this is something that I kind of learned from the archaeologist's book, and oh, dude, he was actually kind of correct on that. I got to give him credit for this. He says that some of these petroglyphs has the power to invoke these spirits. So I tried it one day. I was out there on that canyon. My son and I. We stopped. We were right there in the middle of the canyon, halfway up the mountain. Stopped at these petroglyphs across the way on the wall from the panel, from the canyon. Took a rest. And I said, hey, you guys are cool. Why don't you come and see me? Right? 2 days later, I'm getting my son ready for school. I'm on my second story apartment window on my kitchen. I'm overlooking the east side of South Mountain. I can see that canyon where I was just out 2 days before asking them to come and see me. Lo and behold, what happens? A serpent comes out of the top where that petroglyph panel was, of the two men looking up at a flying snake, came out of that area, went up there about 1,000 feet in the sky, turned around, headed in my direction, and was hovering right over my apartment, right there where I could see him. I'm filming all of this. Trying to get my son ready for school, filming the flying snake, you know. And then by that time, you know, my kids got to go to school. So I was like, screw it, man. I grabbed my camera, grabbed my kid, flew out the door. I met Quetzalcoatl in the sky, in the parking lot. And I set up the tripod, started filming this creature. My kid went off to this bus stop. And I swear to God, when you look at this video, this serpent is looking at my kid, looking back at me, looking at my kid. Oh my God, it was freaky, dude. Filming this creature, filming the flying serpent right above my head. He's black and he's red and he's shape-shifting. He's doing a cross. He's doing a snake. He's red. He's black. He's neat. He's unbelievable. He's a creature. He's alive. He's there. And then what happens? Two airplanes, two white Cessna airplanes, who, by the way, is watching for these entities also. Not only do we have these white Cessna airplanes, but we have black helicopters. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, black helicopters. And I have video of this. I have proof of this. And I'll probably show that later on in these Phoenix Lights series episodes. But these two white airplanes, man, they're coming in. Right? You can hear them. And that's when the feathered serpent, that's when the Quetzalcoatl, he flips out, man. This snake starts to flip out, and now he's moving. He's getting the hell out of Dodge now, because these airplanes are coming. The airplanes know that he's there. They watched him. They know that he was there. And there was a field. There was my parking lot where I was filming him, and then a field. So I grabbed him because he was getting over the apartment complex where he was getting out of sight for me. So I ran as far as I could into that field, and I set up my camera to film him more. And he went across Phoenix, Arizona, and down into another mountains on the north side, probably Payosta Peak or Camelback Mountain, those of you who are familiar with Phoenix. He went down in that area somewhere. So I took that to the news, right? Because I got photographs of a flying serpent, a petroglyph. And by then, you know, the news has already aired my stuff. You know, this is a new take on the Phoenix Lights. You know that the Phoenix Lights, you know, were carved by the Hohokam Indians. You know, and the UFOs they were carved by the Indians. You know, on the mountains of Phoenix, and you know, no one has thought of this before. So you know, they take my video. You know, I had to make a contract. The very first time I dealt with News Channel 3 in Phoenix, I was still worried about, you know, Men in Black, and you're going to steal my tape, you know, because they wanted to examine my tape to make sure that I wasn't hoaxing anything, you know, and so I'm still paranoid, you know, you're going to take my tape, dude. That's the only evidence I have. You're going to take my tape, and you're not going to give it back to me, you know, because you're taking the evidence away from me. So I made them sign a contract. I still have it today, a contract from News Channel 3, KTVK, and Channel 3, Arizona, saying that they have my videotapes, my high 8 videotapes that I filmed these creatures on, so they can analyze them. They took them to a lab. They analyzed it to make sure I wasn't hoaxing these videos, to make sure that they got this crooked snake, you know, and the petroglyphs on the mountain of the exact same sighting. That was it. No one has ever done this before. You know, I successfully matched these carvings to these UFOs in the sky. So they had to make sure that I was right. So by then, when this flying snake comes up out of the mountain, and I have photographs of the carvings of the exact same thing, you know, they grabbed that, they ate that shit right up, man. They took that evidence, they aired it on television, and it was great. And you know, I was the only one that knew where this flying serpent came out of. Okay, I was there. I saw where he came out of. Nobody else saw this. But yet, a few days later, after my news segment aired about the flying serpent, there was a black helicopter that came in. And he went right to that spot where this serpent came out of. Now, how did he know about that? I was the only one that knew where it came out. I mean, by the time the airplanes came, he was already above my apartment. I was already in the parking lot filming him. Nobody else knew where he came out of. But yet this black helicopter came right up to that canyon and sat there. It was a standoff, man. That helicopter was there. That petroglyph was there. That doorway was there. He knew what was up, man. Now, over the years, you know, I've been watching these doorways. I soon realized, you know, doing my investigations and sky watching and mounting and exploring South Mountain and being out on the field, you know, and checking all this stuff out and finding all the doorways, verifying them. You know, I found several doorways that I was watching. And, you know what? That helicopter went to all these doorways that I was watching. And then he also went to other doorways that I didn't even know about. So he was helping me out to watch where these UFOs were coming out, you know. And yes, of course, I filmed all this, and it'll be in one of my episodes, one of my upcoming episodes of this show. I'll show you this black helicopter. And so what does he do? He goes to all these doorways, and then he goes right back up to that serpent area. He does it like 3 times. Hits all these doorways, goes back to that serpent area. And then on the very last thing that he does, he angles his chopper towards me now. He is aligned with me. And I'm sure if he's got binoculars looking out my window, he knows, he sees me out there with my video camera filming his ass. Right? And he's just staring at me, this black helicopter just staring at me. You know, there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, the men in black, they came in and they took my laptop and they took my, you know, they crashed open my door and they took all my evidence and things like that. I'm here to tell you, you know, the government knows what I'm doing. Okay, the black helicopter has been following me around way before I was doing this. My past episodes, I tell you that someone knew that I was coming way before I knew I was coming, you know, and because these helicopters were following me around way before I was doing this type of investigation work. Matter of fact, these Phoenix Lights showed me where to go to the mountain in 2004. All right, I followed these lights. I brought this information down from the mountain. Okay, just like what Moses did. You know, I followed this pillar of fire in the sky, and then I brought the information down from this holy mountain. All right, and these helicopters knew about it, man. They were watching me. They didn't know what was going on. And so a lot of these other people are out there saying, dude, you know, they come in and have they ever came in and busted into your... No, man, they don't do that shit. All they do is they watch you. Now, because they're watching the UFOs, now they're watching you to see how far you can get. You know, to see how close you can get. Sometimes they intimidated me. All right, like when they were staring at me, or one day I was waiting for the bus. Okay, and this black helicopter swooped down out of the sky, flew right over my head, you know, and then went back up into the sky. You know, so yeah, they were trying to intimidate me. The white airplanes, in 2004, when I'm filming the lights out there on the bleachers of Mesa Community College, they would fly close to me. You know, when I made the news in 2004 of the Phoenix Lights, you know, the airplanes would follow me from my apartment all the way and watch me set up my tripod and stuff at the Mesa Community College, you know, waiting for the lights. They knew I was there now because I was making the news. So they knew where I was at, you know, where to watch now. And yeah, they're watching me and they continue to do that. But have they ever came in and, you know, tried to physically intimidate me like the Men in Black? Things like, no. Okay, it's been over 20 years. I have not had any problems with Men in Black or government or anything like that. Now, if you're going to go in there and mess around with Area 51, okay, or some kind of top secret military base, of course, yeah, they're going to come in there and mess you up, right? Because that's just top secret stuff. You know, you can't go in there and just start filming Area 51 or start videotaping all this stuff and get it into their, you just can't do that. Yeah, they're going to mess with you then. But when it comes to UFOs, you're safe, at least in this country. Some countries, it's illegal to make contact the way I did with these beings in the sky. You cannot do that. You will go to jail in some countries. Luckily, in this country, United States, they don't do that. I made contact with these beings. They made contact with me. But now, and the helicopters and the white airplanes, they know. They've been watching this way before I was watching this. So they know what's up. But now they're watching me now to see how close I get, to see how much information I get, and also to see if one day I get carried away. That's what they're really looking for. That is what they're really worried about. Okay, it's not about, they already know that they're there. They're monitoring on when the shit's going to go down. Because when we look at the history of Phoenix, Arizona, and the history of the Hohokam Indians, the story says that the Hohokam Indians were taken away by these lights. The story says the Hohokam Indians were taken away by these creatures in the sky. So that's what they're really looking for. Now, there's rumors out there. I don't know if this is true or not. There's rumors out there that when the 1997 Phoenix lights occurred, the president at that time, I can't remember his name, he went into hiding. He went into underground. He hid because the lights were there. I don't know how true that is. I don't know. But in a way, it kind of makes sense because that's what they're really looking for. They know when these beings start picking people up and taking them off into the sky, once again, they know that it's time for the president and all the government people to hide underground because it's going down. The shit's hitting the fan now. It's going down. That's basically what they're waiting for. That's the secret. They're not, they're not interested. They know. They've already monitored them. They know what they are. They understand they're not spaceships. And I can tell you right now that they're never going to come out and have disclosure. That's just bullshit. All right, so all these military planes and Navy people and stuff that you see in the news now, them actually saying that they saw UFOs. Oh, man, my God, they saw that shit back in 2004. Some of these videos are just now coming forward. Okay, and all these pilots are recording all this stuff. So the more and more UFOs are coming because the story says that eventually we will need these beings once again to survive. And so they already know that these are not spaceships because now they're saying, well, just because this thing's going, 50 miles an hour or 500 miles an hour, whatever they're saying, it doesn't mean that it's extraterrestrial. Now, that's the key there. I saw it on the news. They're saying, well, it doesn't mean that it's extraterrestrial. It doesn't mean that it's man-made. It doesn't mean that it's our government. It doesn't mean it's somebody else's government. But it also doesn't mean that it's a spaceship also. So in a way, they're kind of slowly, bringing this information out because they know it's not a craft. It's not technology. But that's a creature. That's a being. That's a living being. That thing that radar picked up or that infrared camera picked up, that's a creature, dude. That's a living being. Not technology. It's alive. And they know this. And they know the history of these beings because of the Hohokam Indians, for one, and all the other stories that the earth talks about and these sacred scrolls and the petroglyphs and the stuff that's concealed in these tombs. They know what is about to happen, what's going to happen next. To understand our future, we must understand our past. And that's what the government has done. They have understood the past. They know what the future holds in store. They know that these beings will be in our future. They know the reason why these beings are here. It's not for us. It's not for them to help us, but here for them to conquer us. They need us once again to survive and to worship them. That is what it's all about. Just like it was in the time of the beginning, so shall it be in the time of the end. When there's no food and there's no water, But yet they're going to see these phoenix lights in the sky. They're going to see these creatures in the sky. One's going to come down. He's going to shapeshift, because that's what the Indians say, right? They're shapeshifters. That's what the petroglyphs say, that they shapeshift. The archaeologist calls them anthropomorphs. And they're going to shapeshift into a man. And they're going to say, look what I can do. I can clean up the air. I can clean up the water. In return, worship me. I am your God. Right? Makes sense to me. That's what it was in the time of the beginning, because when the Holocaust first got here, they didn't know how to live. So these creatures came up out of the sand world. They came down from the sky. They taught these people the secret ways, the secret incantations, the secret sorcery, in which man was not meant to understand. This is what we're looking at today, right now, what we're looking at here. They taught them how to construct these boulders, how to cut them, how to align them correctly with the sun on the equinox and the solstice. This was a secret back then. This was told not from extraterrestrials, but from interterrestrials. And that's another thing that maybe eventually this so-called disclosure will reveal, is they're not from outer space, they're from inner space. This is their world too. This has always been their world. They are not from another planet. This is their planet. They have always been here. They've been here before man. So when it comes down to this disclosure, oh, they're going to come out and tell us, sure, UFOs are real. But, the next, because all these conspiracies, oh, we're seeing balloons. We're seeing weather balloons. Now we're seeing flares. Now we're seeing trash in the sky. Blah, blah, right? And now that's the conspiracy. That's the cover-up. Now, the next cover-up is, now you're seeing flying saucers. Now you're seeing extraterrestrial technology. Because that's what people can understand. People can relate to that. That's what they can understand. They understand technology, spaceships, creatures from another world. They understand that. But if you come out and say, no, these things are monsters. These things are creatures. These things are shape-shifting. And they have the capability to go inside a mountain, to hit that fault line, to absorb its energy. And this is the cause of what happened to the first people who dealt with these phoenix lights. And they came up missing. They are missing from history. They saw UFOs. They saw the creatures. These creatures came down, taught these people how to build what we're looking at right here on our screens today. And that was okay for 1,000 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're gone. These people disappeared. Archaeologists. Oh, they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. But when we look at the evidence, you'll soon realize that the Holocaust, they didn't even bring their luggage. They left everything behind and they vanished. If they went somewhere else, we could follow on where they went. Simply gone. And this, not only did it happen to this tribe, but also other tribes around the world, and it happened at the same time period. It happened at the same time. These tribes all over the world were masters of their land for 1,000 years. They worshiped these beings in the skies. These beings taught these people the secret ways, the secret incantations, the secret sorcery that man was not meant to understand. That went on for 1,000 years until eventually these beings came down and took these people up into the sky, never to return, erased from history. That's the truth. That's exactly what happened to these Holocaust people. So if you come out there and you tell people this, the government, tells people this, how many people do you think is going to stay in that valley? If you told people, yeah, there was giants here, there's gold out there, and these phoenix lights are guarding the gold in these tombs, waiting for the Mayans to come back, and the feathered serpent is flying around, and he's watching all these people, and eventually they're going to start taking people up. I mean, what if they really came out and told you that? oh my God, they'd get the hell out of Dodge. They would not live in that valley no more. You know, it would scare people to hell, and they would get out of there. And so, you know, the economy would shoot down in that valley. You know, so they're not going to tell people this. They're not going to scare people away. They're going to tell people, oh, they're spaceships, they're flying saucers, they're aliens. Or if they do, maybe they're going to come out and say, you know, well, the way it was moving, there was no way that this could be a mechanical craft. The way it was changing shape, there's just no way that could be a craft. Maybe it's a creature. Maybe it's another being, another animal. You know, the archaeologists has discovered new species of life. Not the archaeologists, but the oceanographers has discovered new species of life below the oceans, in which man has no idea what is below the oceans. We never even been able to get to the bottom of some of these oceans. So who knows what kind of, you know, fish or creatures are down there. And this is the exact same thing. This is another living being, another living animal that is above the oceans that has always been here. It's another life form. It's another being. These things are higher than man, so to speak. We thought man was higher than the animals. Well, we are. These things are higher than man. We are more intelligent than the animals. These things are more intelligent than man. And that's the biggest conspiracy of the earth, is that these things are really here. These things are alive. These things have always been with us. They're always here. The Indians have been always saying this the whole damn time. They're going up on the mountain. They're talking to the spirits. That's what these things are. The spirits, right? Creatures. They don't know how to say UFOs. UFOs was invented back then. Spirits. Gods. Right? And the history says on what happened to these people. History says what these things in the sky are. And the history has always been here. That's the problem. The evidence has always been with us, right? Whether it's these ancient scripts, ancient texts, you know, from the Sumerians or the Anunnaki, or, you know, even these biblical scrolls. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the scrolls in which talks about these creatures in the sky. It tells us what they are. But man has, you know, they blow off that information, because when you start talking about the Bible and Revelations and Genesis and Moses and things like that, you know, you're throwing religion at me now, Jeff. Don't talk religion to me. Dude, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about the history of the world. When you look at those scrolls, when you look at the book, when you look at the Dead Sea Scrolls, things like that, they tell us what these things are, man. Angels, Nephilim. Come on now. You can't ignore this evidence here. It's really fascinating too, especially when it comes to Genesis 6. When the Nephilim came down and they taught these people the sacred ways, and they brought forth giants, all this crazy shit. Oh my God, that explains the petroglyphs on South Mountain in Phoenix. Mount Hermon wasn't the only mountain that these things were cast down at. There were many mountains on this face of the earth on where these beings were thrown down and thrown down into the bottomless pit and here on earth. It wasn't just Mount Hermon. South Mountain was one of them. The mountains in this valley in this Phoenix, Arizona, are some of the mountains where these things were cast down at. We read these ancient texts. We go up on the mountains and we see the photograph that is talking about the exact same stuff that we are reading in these texts. That's where the evidence lies at. That's the credible evidence there. And then the third one is now we're seeing it for our own eyes. Not spaceships, flying snakes, flying orbs, phoenix lights, all this crazy shit carved on the mountains, written in the text. Indians say, this is what happened to our people. That's where the credibility lies at. Not hearsay. Not stuff that you can't prove. You can't prove any of that other crap. We have to look at the evidence. And the evidence would suggest something completely different. Okay, let's move on. Isn't that neat? So we have a pyramid. You see the pyramid hill. And then we have these boulders in front of it. Now, these aren't the only boulders around this area. There's more boulders with petroglyphs on it. But this is more significant here because it's right there at the entrance to this pyramid. Now, actually, you know, this dirt, it's been, all this dirt that we see now on the ground here, that fence, this is all covered up, all right? This is all buried, all right? All this dirt we see on the floor here, that's not actually the real floor. That has been buried. There's more boulders and more structures under this dirt. And how do I know that? It's because I accidentally found a petroglyph. I think it's in my book. I'm not sure if it's in today's episode or not. But I found a petroglyph, a rock, coming out of the floor, coming out of the dirt. All right? And that's telling me that there's more of the story, that all this dirt, it's been covered up. They threw this dirt. They buried all this stuff. And these boulders are just the beginning. There's more stuff under that floor there. There's more stuff buried under that floor. If we took a jack hoe or a bobcat or something, some kind of shovel, huge mechanical shovel, and started digging stuff up, we'd find more petroglyphs. We'd find more stacked boulders with petroglyphs just like this. This could be the entrance to the tomb of that pyramid that's right behind these boulders here. So there's more under that floor right there. Does the archaeologists talk about this? No. But the evidence is there. Here's the top. Now we can see on how the top slab is casting that shadow down. You see that? And it's making that serpent face. It's making the snake face. You can now see that there's an eye, a petroglyph there. You can see the petroglyph eye. It's actually a UFO, but now he's like an eye for this serpent. We have the barbell formations there of the UFOs, and we have a spiral up on top. Okay, so and the spiral is going what is it? Counterclockwise, so it's a doorway out and it's ending up. The spiral is ending up, which means there's a vortex in the sky. We have a coyote right there. You can barely see a little coyote there. He's touching the shadow. He's looking over here at the spiral. We have the flying serpent over here to the left of your screen. You see that? There's Quetzalcoatl. That's the flying serpent. And it's also representing its spirals too. See the spirals in it? So it's two different doorways for the serpent. We have more petroglyphs here. But the stone slab has been cut out and placed on top for this shadow to occur at. And like I said before, all these boulders were placed here. This isn't natural. They were brought here and stacked here. In my opinion, the giants did it. Here we go. Here's more explanation here. Let's look at this a little further here. So we have the serpent, and his mouth is open, and we have an anthropomorph, a shapeshifter that he's getting ready to eat. You see that? The serpent is getting ready to eat this anthropomorph or shapeshifter entity. He's got his mouth open. He's about ready to eat him. We have a coyote there. We have another coyote here. But the serpent is going to eat this anthropomorph. Now, this is time lapse now. And look at this. Look what he's doing. He's now getting closer. The serpent is now getting closer, and he's about ready to chomp on the anthropomorph. He's about ready to eat. The shadow of the snake has now moved, and he's getting closer. He's getting ready to enjoy his lunch. He is opening his mouth. The snake is now going to eat the anthropomorph. He's about an inch away. As the sun moves along the sky, it extends this shadow of the serpent's face, head, if you would, head. So the sun's moving and the snake's coming out. Isn't that neat? The sun's moving, the snake's coming out. He's got his mouth open. He's going to eat that anthropomorph. And he's heading towards, he's going down. See, look, because the shadow serpent, he's extending out. And where's he going? He's moving down the side of the boulder. Right? Keep that in mind. He's moving down. Where is he going to end up? Where is he going to end up? Now, moving along. The serpent has consumed the anthropomorph, and now he has this sharp angle of a shadow, and he's pointing down here to the bottom. Okay, this is what happens after the serpent eats the anthropomorph. Now it's a big sharp shadow and it's pointing down to the bottom of the rock. This is significant. That it's telling us that is where the doorway is. That is where the emergence point is. He's pointing down under the rock. Meaning either, that could be talking about the entrance to the tomb. It's using that little, that little slice of a shadow. It's pointing. It's going right there. It's specifically pointing right there in that area. And like I said before, these boulders were placed there. They're not natural. They were placed there. So if we remove all those boulders, if we take them out, that could be concealing, those boulders could be concealing the entrance to the tomb on which the hill in the background, the pyramid hill, is hiding. Look, we have look at that, see? Now it's really touching that area now. See that? That's not by chance, okay? That is done specifically. That is done for a reason. That is a purpose. That's not just an accident. They're telling us. They're pointing it. The shadow is pointing down. And look at all these boulders on the bottom. See all these loose stuff, all these, if we take all these boulders off, I'm sure it's an entrance to the tomb for the pyramid hill in the background. And, like I said before, there's other stuff buried on this ground here. So this just could be the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg here. This is the cherry on top. The ice cream is under the dirt. We need to uncover all the dirt that these rocks are sitting in front of and see more of the story. There's more petroglyphs that has been buried. So is the shadow talking about what's underground? What's underneath? Is there more of the shadow's story that has been concealed by dirt, that has been buried? That's a very possibility. I think we need to dig up that dirt. We need to dig it up, man. And I think I don't think the government has done that. I think it was probably the Indians that buried all that stuff. I think it was the Indians that brought in all that dirt and covered it all up. I don't think that it was, the Spanish. I don't think it was the government. I think it's the Indians, because there's more evidence that I found out there, especially some of these giant boulder walls that I discovered that has been buried. I mean, just tons and tons of dirt has been thrown upon this wall to cover it up. And, it could be, there's more there. So they're burying stuff probably to conceal the entrance to the tomb. Now, here's another look at it. This is during the solstice, I believe. Now look at it. We have the serpent over here on the serpent. Its shadow now creates an Indian profile face. You have the snake over here that we just talked about. And then over here, we have an Indian profile face. Look at the nose, the broad nose. Look at the mouth. Okay, and that's what this serpent is projecting. That's what the serpent is doing. You can see the snake. We talked about that earlier. And so what he's doing, he's making a face. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? And so it was taught by these beings the secret ways, the secret incantations, the secret sorcery on when this sun will align just perfectly to make this face. Is that incredible or what? How is that possible? I mean, because if you think about it, if they did it, they only had, 1 day, maybe 2, maybe 3 if you're stretching it. And these are all good days with no clouds in the sky. So that first year, the sun is right above in the 12 o'clock position. Now it's time to make the shadow. So we got to go over there and we got to chisel here. Chisel, chisel, chisel. Sun's moving, chisel, chisel. Oh, got to stop. Wait for the next year to come around. Okay, sun's in the position. Chisel, chisel, chisel. Stack, stack, stack. Chisel, chisel, chisel. Oh, we got to stop now. Got to wait. So that would take at least 20 years. Maybe longer. Especially to stack all these rocks up there, to cut out the snake head, to put the boulder inside the snake's mouth, to put the light and shadow markers up on top. That's a lot of work, man. And I don't think, I don't think that was done over a matter of time. I think that was done probably in about a week's time, if that. So this is one of the secrets to South Mountain. And I really like this panel because I really enjoy the snake. I really enjoyed the carved out snake there. He's like one of my favorites. And he was eating that boulder, right? Just love that. Okay. Now let's talk about this UFO sighting that was filmed in, what did I say? Colorado? Not Colorado, but Canada in 2008. And, yeah, let's take a look at this creature flying over the boats. Here we go.
Dude, you got it on cam?
Yeah. UFO sighting.
Over the Atlantic? Or over the... This is a UFO
Pacific.
Over the Pacific Ocean.
Right above those buildings there.
I love it when people
Man,
see
it's
these
green.
beings for the first time. They just they freak out.
Dude, that's
I
fucking...
love it.
It's green! It's green! It's coming right over us, man. It's gotta be a heli. What the fuck? Can you focus in on that?
Barely.
Dude, it's like... It's fucking green or something.
Oh my
Look at this creature. I stopped it there.
god, that's...
Look at this being here. Let's
Oh,
examine
fu-
this creature. Look at this. Look at this creature. You notice it's going in a straight line. Okay, it's cruising. It's going over a straight line.
Fucking...
You see that? This is not some kind of spaceship we're looking at, folks. This is an alive creature.
It's not a helicopter, David.
Look at that.
That is not a helicopter, man.
Is that
Yeah, I'm
amazing
looking right
or
at it.
what?
Oh my
Look at that. That is something.
God.
Now it's changing shape. Look at it now. Watch it. Here it goes. Here it goes. Watch it.
What the fuck?
You see that? Now it's changing shape. It anthropomorphs. It's a shapeshifter. Look at that. Look.
Fuck is that?
See? Now it's different. You know, it kind of reminds me of Garfield.
Look at it!
Look at that. That is something. I love this sighting. This is just great
Oh
video.
my god.
Look at that creature in the sky. That's what we're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. Not spaceships. And look at the way it's flying. See
fuck?
that? Look, it's going in a straight line.
What the
It's
fuck
on a
is
mission.
it?
Man. Dude, that's
Look,
some, like,
now look at it.
video-
Look at it. 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 What the hell, dude? Look at that. See that? Now it's completely changed. It's going in a straight line. It's moving. It's got a destination that it's heading to.
Ever fucking seen. I'm looking through my binoculars at this thing and it makes no sound. It's going everywhere.
It's silent, man. It's,
And it's
silent. It
silent.
flew by us at Mach speed.
Dude, what the fuck is that?
Oh my god.
Dude, what the fuck? Yeah! Oh yeah! I got it on film!
It's heading
What the
towards that
fuck
other
is
island
that
out
shit?
there.
My
I
name
believe
is
it
Dave
comes
Horan.
down.
I don't know what
I
the
believe it goes
fuck
down.
that is, man. I've seen shit like nothing like that.
No, it was silent. It was silent.
Dude, there it goes.
I love it.
Fucking
I love it
God.
when people see these
I still
things.
see it with my
That
binoculars.
was freaking.
It's, that was almost out of focus of the camera.
I got it.
Look at that. Let's watch where it goes.
Dude,
watch
what
where
the
it goes,
fuck
people.
was that?
You see that
Man, what
land
the
out
fuck
there? the
was that?
far
Oh my
back
god,
there?
it looked like Boba
That
Fett's
blue
fucking
land out there.
Did you see that?
That's where it's heading. It's heading out there. It's gonna land out there. Boba Fett. Yes, it was. These things are exciting.
Cheers to the fucking ETs, man. Extraterrestrials. They're coming, man. They're coming.
Hit that Captain Morgan, guys.
There's a plane, man.
You
I wonder
just
what it's
saw
gonna do to the
something.
fucking plane, dude.
Now I think they
Where'd it go?
zoom
It's
in
gone.
on it.
It's gone. It
They
disappeared.
show it
It's
going
gone.
down,
It disappeared.
way
No
out
way.
there.
Dude, it's fucking gone.
It disappeared. Oh my god, and a sip of a fucking whiskey.
Sip of whiskey and it's gone.
See if we can
It's
see
down by
it. I
those
think
trees
it's out
there,
there
man. I think I
somewhere.
spotted it on this camera.
Where?
It went
Look
down
at the one
to that
hump
hill
of
over
the
there.
fucking mountain there. Down in the trees, and you see it.
I don't see it, but
Oh, I lost it. No.
I love it. I love it when people see these things for the first time. It's green! Here's to the extraterrestrials, dude. Hitting that Captain Morgan. Yeah, I love that. I love that video, and I can't get enough of seeing that. But look how that thing is going in a straight line. Okay, it's shape-shifting. You saw it changing shape, right? So it's shape-shifting. It's green! Love that video. Okay, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show. No interruptions on tonight's show, thank God. So everything went smoothly. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you find my YouTube channel, The Phoenix Lights. Make sure it says The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Petroglyphs in the Sky is all one word. And subscribe to my channel. Find me on my YouTube channel, my Facebook page. If you can't find my YouTube channel, my Facebook page has a link to my YouTube channel. Check out my ghost channel, Haunted Encounter Adventures. That's always fun. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time talking about the Phoenix Lights, the history of Phoenix, Arizona, and the petroglyphs that are connected with the Phoenix Lights and Phoenix, Arizona's past. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.